Hello. I feel like it's so dark. I wonder why that is. Welcome, everybody. So, I wanted to take a little minute to share with you the kinds of ideas that are being activated in the whiteboard session coaching partnerships that I offer. If you've been following along in other channels, you know that this year, this academic year, so just starting this month in September and through next year, I am committed to activating 100 of your ideas. It's called the 100 Ideas Project. And the main way that I do this is through my whiteboard session coaching partnerships. Whiteboard sessions are week-long, unlimited coaching partnerships that are kickstarted with a 2-hour deep dive coaching session and then followed up with a week of unlimited support. So one of the big questions that I get asked a lot is, well, what kinds of ideas are activated through this work? What kind of ideas are you looking to get going in this coming year? So I wanted to take a minute to kind of share with you. I've done a lot of whiteboard sessions, and I've started to notice that ideas that are really great for this work tend to fall into one of three categories. Now, to give you a little bit of context, I'm a big fan of metaphors. I use mountains a lot as a metaphor. I even have my little mountain necklace on. And one of the way that I like to think about it is that when someone wants to take action on an idea that they have, it's almost like they're looking at a mountain that they want to climb, right? And my job is that of an expedition leader. And I like to think of myself as kind of being in this tent at the base of the mountain. And the whiteboard session really starts with someone coming into the tent and really saying, I want to sit down for 2 hours and have this space and time to talk about and unpack and get clear on this thing that I want to do, with your help, with my help. And that's what we do during this kind of kickoff foundational session, is really dive deep into this project that you want to undertake, figure out details, steps, etc. And then what happens is after the session, that's really when the work gets implemented and shows up in your everyday life. So you go out and experiment with and take micro action on the things that we uncover during that initial session. And you have my help for that entire week as you're out applying the insight and the clarity that comes out of that initial conversation. And we use lots of different platforms to stay connected. But that's just kind of like a metaphor for the structure of what the partnership is like. So I'm going to draw a little tent. I'm going to, of course, use my whiteboard. So here's the little tent. Here's my tent down here. And again, during the first part of the whiteboard session partnership, we spend 2 hours in conversation really diving into this thing that you want to do. And there are three categories of ideas. So back to the point. The first kinds of ideas that are a wonderful fit for whiteboard sessions are ideas around something that you want to do. So I call them doing ideas. And a doing idea really fits this sense of a mountain really well. You know, you can imagine kind of a mountain out here in the background that you want to climb. A doing idea is something that you want to do, create, make happen, that you've just been thinking about for a while, that feels a little bit like a leap, like a jump, like 180 degrees perhaps from what you've been doing up until now. You may have climbed a ton of mountains in your past. You have a lot of experience. You've had success. Things are going great. But you're like, oh, what I really want to do is make this thing happen. For example, I have had whiteboard session partnerships around the idea, I want to start a flower farm. And that idea kind of was one that she had been sitting on for a very long time, but she was really ready to do something with it. Another idea that came out of kind of a doing focused whiteboard session was, what I really want to do is I want to take a 2-month road trip in my RV by myself. Okay. And so the conversation during our initial session was around, what are the steps that you need to take? Let's take this idea that perhaps feels overwhelming and break it into smaller steps. I call them micro actions, examining the fears perhaps that are coming up and maybe holding someone back. And their work during that week was really to head out and start taking these teeny tiny little steps towards the idea that they had. And without fail, what tends to happen is just being willing to take those first steps is what pushes kind of that idea over the top and really gets momentum going. And now both of those things have happened. That road trip is actually just now coming to an end. I just got an email from her the other day, and what she has learned has been unbelievable. Like, it's so inspiring to watch. The flower farm is happening. I am watching it grow. If you want to take a look at allegrastein.com, you will see some of these ideas that are being activated as part of this project, and you can read more about them there. So those are the doing ideas. I have a new client coming up soon. She wants to write a book, right? So it's around this creation of taking action on something. The second category of idea is not so much around doing, but around being. Being ideas, when it's fitting into this metaphor, are around how are you showing up in your life? Who are you on the hike? Okay. Being ideas tend to be much more personal. Again, some actual examples. I just finished up with a client whose idea was, I want to be more intentional and balanced in my life. Other ideas that fit into this category are, I'd like to slow down. I'd like to create more space for myself and my self-care. So it's less around, I want to start doing something new, and more around, how can I really reclaim who I am? So these whiteboard sessions are really great if you are an action taker, you're very busy, you have no problem like getting things done, but you realize that if you continue at this pace, by the time you get to the top, you're likely to be a shell of the person that you want to be. So the conversations that really anchor these whiteboard sessions are around what your deeper commitments are, what your values are, really getting those embodied, and then giving you practices during the week to start becoming more aware, more intentional, creating time for yourself to be sure that the way you're living out your day-to-day life is aligned with who you want to be and how you want to be showing up in your life. So these being ideas, again, are a very reflective internal practice, and the whiteboard sessions can really activate that practice and get you started along that path. The final category of ideas that have been very successful in whiteboard session partnerships actually kind of have a number of names, but I call them ideas that require maybe some untangling. Another good word for this third category is like clarifying or evolving. Now, the best way for me to describe this before giving you some examples is like, imagine that you have a goal. Perhaps there's something that you've been working on for a while, a project, a business, something that you have been putting a lot of time and energy in, and you are so focused on the day-to-day movement, that hiking up the mountain, all the details, the things you have to keep track of, that you've lost touch with why you're actually doing it. You've lost a sense of that bigger vision. I like to say you've lost the forest for the trees. Perhaps you're kind of like pulling your head up saying, wait a minute, I actually don't want to be perhaps going in this direction anymore now that I've started. I want to be over there, right? I actually want to be on this mountain. So how can I bridge these two things? And what happens sometimes in that position is our minds tend to get totally full of all the details that we can't see the big picture. So these whiteboard sessions are all around zooming out, getting everything that's out of your head out in front of you, and kind of re-clarifying, finding new direction in what it is you want to be creating and making happen, and how to get started in that. So an example, again, that was a whiteboard session recently where an idea was activated, was around, I want to clarify the vision and mission of my work. So this client had actually had a lot of success creating one thing, but had realized, I actually want to shift that. I want to evolve it a bit. I want to be going in a different direction. But she was so busy with the everyday thinking around her work that she needed that time to zoom out and re-clarify and crystallize what it is that she wanted to be doing moving forward. Um, I recently worked with a pair of amazing women who are trying to move forward on a nonprofit that they want to build. And there was so much detail to all of it that they had lost track of kind of the bigger pieces that they wanted to be focusing on. So, again, our conversation here was around what are all of those parts? And something very powerful happens when you're willing to take everything out of your head, get it untangled and in front of you. And then from that place, head back out again, um, on a journey and on into and towards this thing that you want to be creating and making happen. So that kind of gives you a sense, I hope, with some examples of some of the ideas that we're working on in whiteboard sessions. If this is resonating with you, if you are perhaps sitting on an idea, again, maybe it's something you want to do, maybe it's a way that you want to be, that you really want to put into practice, or maybe you're just so overwhelmed with all of the different parts of what you're working on that you just want some space to clarify it, to get untangled so that moving forward it feels much more clear. I hope you will consider the possibility of a whiteboard session as being a fit to get you there. I am I am activating 100 ideas this coming year, and I would love for yours to be one of them. You can find more details in all of the links below. There's a link for more details about the whiteboard session. And if you really want to explore it, I invite you to connect. There is a link for that as well. We can talk for free, zero expectations, but it'll give us a sense of whether this could be a fit. And I really look forward to that. So feel free to leave any questions below. Thanks for being here. Subscribe because I'm going to be trying to do more YouTube videos um, along the way. And yeah, talk to you again soon. Bye.